Fam, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube, coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Following Alabama's victory over the Auburn Tigers, I got Coach Sean. He was going to join me today as we recap Alabama's latest victory. Coach Sean, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
What's up with you guys, man? Roll Tide to everyone. Great morning. Great morning.
Absolutely. Great morning. When we look to Alabama and what this team was able to do last night, now 11-1 on the season, 8-0 in SEC play. Let's jump right into it. Your initial thoughts and kind of your reaction of that 4th and 31 now that you've had one night of rest to think about it. Talk about that particular play.
Man, those type of plays, believe it or not, everybody has those type of plays and situational. We used to call it situational progressions. You have those type of plays, but to have those plays work, actually work, you got to have a nice bit of luck, believe it or not, and it's got to be executed to perfection. I was more shocked now that I look back at the game. I was more shocked that Auburn had a spy on Jalen Milroe. Usually, you use a spy when you think the quarterback is going to take off running, right? 4th and 31. I don't think Jalen was going to have to run. Our success rate wouldn't have been very good. So for Auburn to commit someone to a spy, I think there was a mistake by them and definitely a check for us. So it was amazing, man. It was amazing. 4th and 31. Hopefully we'll never be in those type of situations again, but I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
And kind of leading up to that play as well was kind of the snafu on the snap from Seth and Jalen, and however that goes. And Coach, is that more on Seth? Is that more on Jalen? Talk about what you think happened in that particular play. It'd be interesting to follow up with Saban on Monday on that play. It's something that Alabama has really improved on, throughout the course of the season. But we have seen that, and sometimes it can be with the environment being loud. But what's your take on that snafu that happened right before the 4th and 31?
When I look at Seth and I look at his bad snaps, I think a couple of them, obviously we all know the snap count. The snap count is called in the huddle. We'll call a play on 1, on 2, on second hut, third hut, whatever. You call a play in the huddle. It's almost like he's I guess anticipating. It's almost like he can't hear Jalen and he's anticipating.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've seen that several times from him. And usually when that happens and it's loud like that, you go on the clap. You don't even go on a hike. You go on a clap because I had 2 neighbors that went to Auburn and said it was even louder than Texas A&M. Said it was the loudest game they had been to outside of our Tennessee game. And so usually it's like he's trying to anticipate the snap count. That's why it seems and comes off as if he's hiking the ball a little early, slightly early. And but we got to get that cleaned up, man. Good night. We got to get that thing cleaned up because that could have been catastrophic. That was really the reason. Can you think about it? We were in the red zone. We lost about 18 to 20 yards on that bad snap. So that almost cost us.
When you look to this game overall, what are some takeaways? I'm calling it, the miracle, at the barn or wherever we want to talk about it. Let's kind of dive in a little bit and look at this game overall. I got the stats pulled up right now. Alabama 27 to 24. And a lot of people were asking, particularly at this game, why they took Alabama's touchdown by Terry Arnold off the board. And it looks like the reason was because he stepped out of bounds. And that was kind of the reason why the score reflected 27 to 24. But as you can see, Alabama jumps to a 7-0 start off a Roydell Williams touchdown run. Auburn fires back to make it 7-7. Will Reichert, who hit a 32-yard field goal to put Alabama up 10-7, and then Auburn scores to make it 14-10, kind of a back-and-forth type game. Jalen Milroe throws a beautiful pass to Jermaine Burton on a 68-yard score to make it 17-14, and then Will Reichert with another field goal to make it 20-14. Auburn makes it 21-20, and then 24-20, and then Alabama comes back with the 4th and 31. Late in the game to make it a 27-24 final. When you looked at the particular stats of this game, you see that Jalen Milroe, we're looking at the top left of your screen, had 108 yards gained. Now the net total is 107. That's what we go off of. Coach, were you surprised to see Jalen Milroe use his legs so much in a game like this? And throwing wise as well, he ends with 259. So altogether, 259 yards passing and 170 yards rushing.
I actually thought he should have used them more in the first half. I think, me and the coaches had a debate about, I didn't understand why in the first half. I didn't quite understand the game script in the first half. The first drive was awesome. But after that, it's like they were dropping 8 on defense, and I didn't understand why we were trying to hang in the pocket and just hang and hang and hang and waiting for something to squirt and come out.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, if they drop 8 and you have 15 yards in front of you, take it, take it, go for the sticks, run for the first down. We don't have to be Michael Vick and pop off 8 or 9 90-yard runs, but just at least get those 10 yards. I was very frustrated because it's like we were holding the ball too long. We were determined that somebody was going to get open, even when they weren't. When they're dropping 8, it's very tough to throw downfield. So in that instance, it's the same thing Tennessee did to us the first half. It's the same thing Kentucky did to us on the first 4 drives. If they're going to play man in the latter downs and play and drop 8 in the early downs, then you got to take those with your legs. And that's what he did the second half.
You look to this particular stat, and I was talking about, Auburn and Hugh Freeze, and Hugh Freeze said, he literally told everyone the game plan going into this game back during his Monday press conference. He said that we have to establish a running game. And as you can see from the statistics right here, they certainly did that, rushing for a net total of 244 yards. I believe it's the most yards that Alabama has allowed on the ground the entire season. Hunter Alstorn and even Thorne, with 57 yards. Talk about Auburn's scheme and how they were effectively able to run the ball against Alabama.
I'll tell any fan, remember this, guys. Auburn doesn't have a conventional running game. It's not like Auburn was lining up in the I backfield and running off tackle for 30, 40 yards. If you remember, Kyle, in our last live, I said that they were going to test the perimeter. Our middle linebackers had to have great eye discipline with this offense. A whole gang of misdirectional things. Hugh Freeze do a great job of running things that put your linebackers in a pickle, if you will. You have to be very, very disciplined watching that kind of offense. A lot of jet sweeps, a lot of motions, a lot of things to the boundary. And that's how they got us. It was several off-platform type misdirectional counter plays and several quarterback runs. And that's how they got us. That's how they got us with that perimeter stuff, sideline to sideline. And when you least expect it, they'll come off tackle. They'll come off the 2, come off the 1. And that's how they got us. They did a great job at Auburn. Clearly, their game plan was to run the ball, keep the football from our offense, eat up time of possession, and score points when they get in the red zone. And they were able to do that.
When you look to the receiving stats for the University of Alabama last night, these guys came up big when they had to. I think I can fit Milroe in the screen as well. Milroe, 259 yards, passing 16 of 24. Isaiah Bond with 5 receptions for 75. And, of course, the 31-yard one that will be etched in eternity here at the University of Alabama. And when you look to this Iron Bowl, Jermaine Burton with a 68-yard touchdown, 107 yards. And then, it's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a team or followed a team that has had more touchdowns taken off the board than Alabama, right? You had the Kendrick Law. I love the utilization of him where he had kind of the reverse, the shovel, whatever you want to call it, where he ran for a touchdown. That was taken away by a C.J. Dupree holding penalty. And then I think that Milroe was over the line of scrimmage when he threw the touchdown to Amari Niblack as well. So that's 2 touchdowns off the board. And then you also add on the fact that Will Riker missed another field goal. So that's 17 points theoretically taken off the board in a game like this. Your take on the receivers and also, the fact that I mentioned the touchdowns and the field goal taken off the board.
Man, that was an absolute perfect play call for that time. We caught them in man. They under pursued. You run a jet sweep back to the other side. That was the perfect play call. That was Steve Sarkisian-esque right there. And to have that taken off because of penalties was a killer. It was a killer. I think, man, when you're on the road like that, your focus has to be laser, right? We know going down there to that place is already going to be wonky and voodoo-ish. Yes. You gotta be locked in, man. We really kept I tweeted this out on my little Twitter page. I said this game should be 21-0 right now. And I think at that point it was 14-10 or something like that, whatever it was. We should have had 3 possessions, 3 opportunities down there in the red zone to score 21 straight points, and to have 2 of them take them off the board was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And that's something that has definitely got to be cleaned up this week.
Yeah, a lot of people trying to figure out kind of the title of this game, and someone inside the comment box, I think it's Kill Tack. He's saying the Hell Millie. I like that. And then thanks for the super chat. And then Marcus is saying on the 10th anniversary of the Kick 6, Alabama pulls off. Choose whichever you like: the Milroe Miracle, Nightmare, Jordan Hare, or the 4th and 31. I mean, you have the second and 26, and now you have the fourth and 31. I mean, I like the miracle at Auburn. I mean, Coach, I don't know if there's like a title for this, but I think as we go through time, I mean, people are certainly going to, think about this game, and it's going to be remembered for forever. Everybody's going to know exactly where you were when this particular game took place. Coach, we talked about this going into this week, that Hugh Freeze has an ability to play Coach Saban really well. I mean, think about this particular stat, which is really scary. Someone was like, you're making him out to be the boogeyman going into this game. And I was like, look, they played 5 times and Hugh Freeze has beat him twice. That's scary enough, right? And he almost had an opportunity, should have last night, tied it up, the series being 3-3. I mean, nobody else in college football can say that. They went toe-to-toe with Coach Saban 6 times and were able to beat him 3 times. He had a great game plan. I mean, this guy practiced all season long to beat Alabama. This was kind of the world that everybody was looking at, was the Alabama-Auburn game, and following the game where Auburn lost against New Mexico State. By the way, a team that won its 10th game last night by beating Jacksonville State. I mean, do you think that this final score of Alabama versus Auburn will hurt the Alabama Crimson Tide going forward?
I don't think it'll hurt us, because I think the powers that be, even the committee, as far as loopy as they are, they do understand this is a rivalry game, right? They understand winning at Auburn has been tough for us lately, and we're going down to the plains. I'll say this as far as Hugh Freeze go, man. When they hired Hugh Freeze, right, I knew this guy was going to be a problem, because what makes him good against us and the likes of Georgia and things of that nature is the type of offense Hugh runs gives base defenses like us, what we play, base nickel, base 3-4, whatever you want to call it. It gives them problems. The responsibility is not to get too deep in the schematics, but the schematics of our defense, from the jack to the middle linebackers to the defensive front, the type of offense Hugh Freeze runs gives us problems. It puts you in a bind, and it makes you make quick decisions from the middle linebackers on. Even schematically in the back end, it challenges you. It challenges you with the crossing routes they run. It challenges you with the perimeter runs they run. They'll run a ton of plays out of the different formations, but it's the same play, right? And they'll come back to those plays and change it up to passes, and they'll do a lot of different things formationally, which a lot of college football teams don't do that. It's difference in running up tempo and running a gang of formations, right? Hugh Freeze is exceptional at putting you in a bind. If you can remember, on one play, we had 3 receivers. They had 3 receivers on one side. And we like to do a lot of combo things on our defense, a lot of pass offs. We talked about that last night. And Malachi Moore actually got stuck. Him and Kool-Aid actually was on the same receiver. They did that 2 times to us, and both times they left the wide receiver running wide open. So it confuses you. And they run up tempo, so they don't give you a chance to sub package. They don't give you a chance to put in personnel. Very good coaching job. Great coaching job by Hugh Freeze, man. So that guy has done a lot against us with less. And the good news is we won the game. The bad news is that guy is going to get better. He's going to get better recruits. He's going to get better offensive linemen, better quarterback play. So he's going to be a problem down the road.
This stat is amazing to me. Alabama has won 11 games in 12 straight seasons. I think that's just another testimony to the job that Nick Saban has done here at the University of Alabama. Will never be duplicated again. I mean, what he was able to do here at Alabama speaks volumes. I think that this season, as we've talked about many, many times, the coaching job that he's done with this particular group and how he's been able to transform them, mold them. This is the coach of the year. You can always say Coach Saban is the coach of the year, but this year particularly, I think he's done an incredible job and certainly is the coach of the year. Love to see what he's been doing. Here's the college football recap and the college football storylines following, I guess, week 13 of the college football season. Georgia 31, Georgia Tech 23 in a game where Georgia Tech scored 10 points there in the fourth quarter. Milton had 156 yards rushing on the ground with 2 touchdowns. Georgia riding a 29-game winning streak headed into this next game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Ohio State 24, Michigan 30. Ryan Day now 1-3 versus Michigan. It'll be interesting to see where Ohio State falls in the next playoff rankings. Michigan 30, Ohio State 24. The player J.J. McCarthy, look, the guy made a couple of throws that were really big time. Doesn't throw the ball an overwhelming amount, but Blake Corum certainly a very dependable and durable running back, 88 yards with 2 touchdowns. Florida State survives Florida, actually trailing again at the halftime break. But under Rodemaker, they have 134 yards of passing, and then Benson had 95 yards with 3 touchdowns, and they beat Florida 24-15 on the Swamp. Florida State now 12-0 on the season. Washington survives Washington State off a last-second 42-yard field goal as time expired to win. Oregon 31, Oregon State, that took place on Friday night. Bo Nix, 367 yards, 2 touchdowns, ran for another touchdown as Oregon routed the Beavers. You have Texas and Texas Tech. That game also took place Friday night with Texas winning 57-7. Quinn Ewers throwing for 196 yards, and Blue ran for 121 yards on the ground. And then Bama defeats Auburn 27-24. Milroe throws for 259 yards, a 4th and 31 miracle. And before we get to talking about Georgia, let's kind of look at, kind of the college football playoff race, Coach. And here are the teams and how they sit right now. These are the rankings as of, these last rankings. So I have a couple questions for everybody that I'm going to ask you inside the comment box. But, Coach, Georgia is now 12-0, Michigan 12-0, Florida State 12-0. Your initial kind of look at the top 8 right here on the board.
Hey, man, I've been preaching it every week. I'm the biggest Bama fan, but it's not looking good for us. That's just my humble opinion, right? I pray that I'm wrong about this. We're going to need some help. We're going to need some help, guys. That's just what it is. I don't think beating Georgia is enough. And they're showing you that, right? You have to learn each committee show what they're looking at. They hadn't moved us at all. And obviously we have one coming up on Tuesday. We're still behind Texas. We're still behind Oregon. If those 2 teams win out, I don't see us jumping them. I mean, they're showing you what they value, guys. I have some people that hit me on the Twitter that they think we're going to go from 8 to 4. I don't see that at all, because if that's the case, they would have moved us after the LSU game while Texas struggled. You think they're going to move us when Texas is winning, beating the brakes off people? No, they're not going to do that, man. Texas beat us head to head. They're going to value that. The only way I can see us having an opportunity, and I think Louisville will beat Florida State. Louisville just lost. This is a good thing. Kentucky beat Louisville, right? So after Louisville beats Florida State, they're done. They're out of there. They're looking for any reason to get Florida State out of there as it is. We need Washington to defeat Oregon. Washington will be in, right? But Oregon will have 2 losses. They're done. If that's the case, then you have the Big Ten champ. I hope the SEC champ. I hope Texas, and maybe another, and the Pac-12 champ. That's the only way we can get in. We need for Washington to beat Oregon and Florida State to lose to Louisville. If those 2 teams lose, I do think if we beat Georgia, then we'll be in. But it's all the committee, man. Even Danny Cannell is hating on Alabama, talking about Georgia's going to boat races. What he's doing is reverse psychology, though. He's trying to hype the Bama team up to beat Georgia, because he's of the mindset if Alabama wins, the SEC won't have a representative.
Yeah.
So we need some help. We need a few blocks to fall our way still.
I have a couple playoff questions, and I want you guys to answer these inside the comment box as well. And if you guys have a couple of other questions that you think I should add to this board, then go ahead and throw them in. So I'm going to just start up top, Coach, and let's just kind of rapid fire through these. I'll ask you, and then I might give you some feedback as well. But here are my playoff questions as I was getting ready for the show right now. The best undefeated team right now, and as Kendall is saying inside the comment box, I thought the committee's job was to rank the 4 best teams. That's what we've been saying. That's something that I've been harping on the entire time. It's like the 4 best teams up to this point. And so one of my questions is going to get to that as well. Coach, the best undefeated team, can you rank those teams just off the top, off number 1? Who's 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of those top 4 teams?
Easy. Georgia's 1, Washington's 2, Michigan's 3, Florida State's 4.
All right, what do you guys think inside the comment box? Do you agree with Coach? Is it Georgia, Washington, Michigan, and Florida State? Sound off inside the comment box. Who is the best undefeated team right now in college football out of those 4 teams that are listed? Okay, I think for me, and I'm kind of looking at this maybe from a committee standpoint, because these guys have been in love with the Big Ten, and I think the fact that they've been kind of riding on Michigan, the fact that Michigan's AD is also on that board, even though he has to recuse him from talking about Michigan. I think that Michigan is going to be number 2 behind Georgia, and I think that they love style points and they love the defensive style points that Michigan has. So I'm going to go number 1 Georgia, number 2 Michigan, number 3 Washington, and number 4 Florida State. Washington should have lost these last 2 games of the season, found a way to win, including last night against Washington State. Okay, Coach, who is the best one-loss team here? You got Bama, Ohio State, Texas. And when I'm asking this question, I'm asking this as of today. Like, if these 2 teams, or if these teams were to play each other in some sort of round robin this coming Saturday, who comes out victorious? Bama, Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon.
I think right now, today, Alabama is the best one-loss team. I think that's not even close. I think if I had to rank them, it'll be Bama. I would go Texas next, Oregon, then Ohio State. Ohio State was not impressive. Michigan is not impressive to me. Their back end, I think Washington would kill them with those receivers on their back end. I would go Bama, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. Easy.
And I think before I get to my number 3 question, I want to hop to number 4. Do you think that this final score is going to hurt Alabama? And I know I asked you that before, but now that when you're looking to the one-loss teams, considering the fact that Texas won big against Texas Tech, and considering the fact that Oregon is rising and that they've won 6 in a row, defeating Oregon State, a team that the committee certainly loves, do you think that they're going to put a higher value on those style point wins as opposed to a rivalry type game? Look, I said it. I have a video. You can go watch my videos. I was like, do not take Auburn lightly. And I would say that kind of to everybody, because that rivalry game, that was voodoo's type stuff. Like, the things that were happening in that game were out of everybody's control. And Coach Saban even said after the game, he's like, there's been some strange things that have happened here. And there certainly are. And Coach Saban said this was the first time that really, kind of luck has gone our way, which is true. I mean, think about all the calls that went on in that game, the rivalry of it, the fact that Auburn, didn't even practice last week for New Mexico State, just practice for. We knew that it was going to be challenging. And my point is, does the committee understand kind of that pageantry of the Iron Bowl, and is this score and that kind of outcome going to affect them? And I'll ask you why. Look, 2 people from the West Coast, okay, that follow Alabama football, and actually they're from New Mexico, okay, because and that's where all my family is. But they follow me because I follow, now I cover Alabama and all this stuff. And they text me like, "Wow, New Mexico State could hang with Alabama, right?" And I was like, "Man, no, no. The Aggies are more than welcome to come up here to Tuscaloosa again. I'd love to see some of my friends again." Like, no. This is the Iron Bowl. And I think the national media and the people on the committee are going to feel the same thing. They're going to be like, "Oh, well, New Mexico State beat them by 21, and Alabama had to have a 4th and 31 miracle to beat Auburn." No. And I think, is that going to hurt Alabama, Coach?
No, I don't think it will, because the guys that really know football and played this game understand. I've said it 4 or 5 times right there with you, Kyle. The New Mexico, it's so easy, guys. I cannot explain to you how easy it is when you have a huge game in 2 weeks, but you have a cream puff in the middle of those games. You everything you do is for the game 2 weeks away, right? And what happens is you look over the next game. Those guys are coming in here. They have something to prove. At Auburn game, that was their Super Bowl. Auburn kind of sleptwalked through that thing. They wasn't studying New Mexico State. They didn't. You could definitely tell they didn't prepare well for those guys. You know what I mean? New Mexico State landed all on the line, and couple that with New Mexico State is not a bad football team. That's where it has. Now, I think the powers that be can hold that against us if they want to find a negative and a chink in our armor to make a case for somebody else, right? Well, look what they'll say just exactly what you just said. But the real football purists that understand rivalry games, that understand the Iron Bowl, that understand how it is to play at Auburn, they'll understand. I mean, this guy, Georgia beat this team 27-20, 24-20, 27-20. So very similar game to the number 1 team in the country, right? So, you could hold that against us, but I don't think they will. Not in a rivalry game.
And okay, now jumping back to my number 3 question, Coach, is the toughest conference in college football is which conference? And I kind of asked that, and I want you guys to understand too that Louisville, a team that the committee loves, and they love Florida State, and they're really impressed with their win over North Alabama by them scoring 58 points, and they love Louisville, and they're in the top 10. Well, guess who they lost to? And I get it. It's a rivalry game as well, but they lost to Kentucky, a team that Alabama and Georgia have absolutely destroyed on the season. So maybe that's the rivalry game and that's thrown out the wall or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, Florida was having a tough time with Florida State. Can you imagine what I mean? I get it. They're a different. They're a different team. I'm about to ask that about Florida State, but the toughest conference in college football is who, Coach?
It's the SEC.
Thank you.
And that's not even being a homer. Florida State is a top 4 team. Let you guys tell it, right? Well, Florida almost beat them. Florida actually play. I know that's a rivalry game, but Florida's terrible. Let's just be honest. Florida's terrible, right? You look at Clemson and South Carolina are about tip for tap. You know what I mean? That was a toss up. Clemson won that game. You look at Louisville. Louisville's another top 10 team, right? Kentucky beat them like they stole something. So, you know, I mean, come on. What we talking? If you're talking about top to bottom, it's not another conference like the SEC right now. Sure, you could go to the Big Ten and pick out teams that are exceptionally good. You can go to the Big 12 and pick out a team or two. You can pick out 1 or 2 teams in every conference that'll have some success against everybody, right? But when you're talking about top to bottom, from the worst team to the best team, it's not another league that go through the gauntlet like the Southeastern Conference, and they know that. That's why they're trying exceptionally hard to make a case to keep Bama or if we win, to keep us at number 8. And they know that. They know that. That's why Steve Sarkisian, to his credit, is using that Bama win in every conversation that he talks. He uses that as a talking point, and I would do the same thing. You know, that's the best win in the country to me right now.
And I'm curious to see what type of feedback the Kentucky AD, his name is Mitch Barnhart. He's on the committee. He's a lone rep for the SEC. What is his feedback going to be on Tuesday when he meets with the guys, or when he's talking with the guys over the next couple of days about the playoff teams and how his team was able to beat? They're going to be like, hey, Mitch, you saw Alabama play, right? Oh, yeah, I saw Alabama play. And you saw Georgia play too, right? Yeah. And did you see Louisville play from the ACC? Yeah, I saw him. Was there a big difference in a top 10 team that we have and a top 8 team? Because we had Louisville at number 10 and we have Alabama at 8. Do you feel that those teams are ranked evenly enough? Oh, Mitch Barnhart would be like, oh, no. Alabama beat Louisville by whatever they wanted to. 52-0, 66-0, whatever. So he might have a really good card, Mitch Barnhart, who's the Kentucky athletic director. All right, let me ask you this about the ACC. Is Florida State a playoff type team without Jordan Travis?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But if they win the ACC, they're not going to keep them out, guys. They're undefeated. They're an undefeated champion. And if they win the ACC, I'm not even going to be mad that they put them in, because it's supposed to be the 4 best teams. We all know that. But when has it ever? When has it ever? Was it the 4 best teams last year?
No.
Or was it the 4 most deserving teams last year? So, you know, no, they're not a playoff team at all. But if they go undefeated and win the ACC, how do you keep them out?
Yeah, I know. And I think the committee kind of has like a soft spot for the most deserving. And they'll be like, okay, well, Jordan Travis. And look, our thoughts and prayers are with the dude. The dude's absolute baller. There's nothing against him. It's against like the overall quality of the team. And Mark Norvell has done a good job, like a great job. Who would have thought that they would ever be undefeated up to this point? But the ACC is, as we're arguing, you know, that it's not what it is in the SEC. And, you know, considering the fact that, you know, they should have lost against Boston College. They should have lost against Clemson. They were trailing North Alabama. I mean, we can point to all these different things. And now that they don't have their quarterback, I'm curious to see where they are ranked. Vegas has already kind of thrown them away in terms of winning the overall title game. And if you want to put the 4 best teams in, Florida State, number 1, it was questionable if they were a top 4 to begin with. And now without Jordan Travis, okay, they might be deserving of this great season, which they are, but are they a top 4 team? Definitely not. Where does the committee place Ohio State? And this is going to be really, really interesting because They were number 2 and they lost to number 3. The committee also loves the Big Ten. They love the Rose Bowl, right? The Big Ten and the Pac-12. Where do they place Ohio State?
That is an absolute impeccable question, because I'm going to say this, man, and this is straight from Coach Sean. I am not impressed with Michigan or Ohio State. I think defensively they're average. I think offensively both teams are limited. I think Oregon would beat Michigan right now. I think Bo Nix would have a field day against that team. I am not impressed with neither one of those teams, man. Offensively, they're both limited. But here's the thing, guys. We got to prepare ourselves for this. They love, it's just like Kyle said, they love the Big Ten, right? And I think they're sweet on these teams for matchup purposes, right? They want this team to go here. They want that team to go here. So they're going to be sweet on them. We're going to bloviate their rankings to make them seem so good. And if you watch their game, it was almost sickening how the Joe Klatt and the other young man, this is an absolute great game. I was like, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding me. So it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see where they put Ohio State, because Ohio State is not better than Texas. They're not better than Bama. And I don't think they're better than Oregon right now. So it's going to be interesting to see. They better not put them above Bama, man. They better not.
My last question before we get to Alabama versus Georgia. And by the way, if you're watching, look for the SEC coaches teleconference. I'm going to make sure that is taken and properly uploaded right to our YouTube channel. That'll be at 4 p.m. Central Time. You're going to have Kirby Smart answer questions from the media for 20 minutes. And then you're also going to have Coach Saban answer for 20 minutes as well. And I will keep you posted on the schedule of this coming week. So Monday, I'm anticipating to have Coach Saban at the podium, but things could change because it is a different week, being that it is the SEC championship game. So stay tuned for notifications. Sometimes I drop updates on Twitter and then also right here in the community tab on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Definitely give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. So, Coach, before we start talking about Alabama versus Georgia and kind of looking at the early SEC title game, aka the real title game taking place in the country, has the Pac-12 clinched a playoff spot? And the reason I'm asking you this is because this committee loves Oregon. They love the style points. They love the fact that Bo Nix is balling out of control, and he really is. The guy is having a great season. And Washington keeps surviving. The last 2 games. Let's look at it 2 ways. Washington wins. They finish the season 13-0. Right? They're 100% in. And if Oregon, kind of this team that they like, if they finish out 12-1, you got to think they're in as well, right?
They're in, yeah. And that will open a door for Washington. We only lost to the same team we beat. So it's going to be a cluster. That's why I said we need Washington to go ahead and get rid of those guys. Here's the thing with the Pac-12. Washington defensively is okay. They're not a bad team defensively. They're better than some SEC defenses, believe it or not. Offensively, they're great. They have receivers. They have a quarterback. They have a very good offensive line. I see how they beat Oregon, even though Oregon kind of beat themselves. I personally think they're going to beat Oregon again. That's just me. Oregon had, to this date, Oregon outside of the Washington game, losing that game, Oregon hadn't beaten a ranked team today that's presently in the top 25 today. Utah's not ranked. Colorado's not ranked. Texas Tech, they hadn't beaten a ranked team yet. That's as far as the present rankings of today. So I think Washington's going to beat them. I think Washington's in. I'm going to go ahead and count them in. The Pac-12 is sweet with the committee right now. They definitely are trying to make a case for that team, even though that conference is going to leave after this year. I personally think the committee is trying to ruffle everyone's feathers because they want everybody excited going into this 12-team playoff. We can ruffle everybody's feathers the year before. Everybody will be looking forward to the 12-team playoff. So you never take out the mindset of business when you go into these kind of things. That's the thing you got to remember.
All right, quick look at Alabama's resume before we talk Alabama versus Georgia. I kind of flew through this, so I will do another edit before we start talking about this on Monday and on Tuesday. But 10-game winning streak, 8-0 in SEC play, which is remarkable. Beat number 12 Ole Miss, number 14 LSU, and of course these rankings will change on the next college football ranking update. And number 21 Tennessee lost to number 7 Texas. Points per game 35, points allowed per game 17. Second half points 213 to 90. Number 17 ranked defense. I saw that because that was updated this morning. Number 19 strength of schedule on Power Guru. Milroe's recent play, and just that throw was crazy. And so I kind of look at this stat at the bottom right of your screen, where they are a 4.5-point underdog against Georgia. When you look to the rest of the top 8, what would they be in terms of the underdog? Because there's nobody else is going to be a favorite against Georgia. Nobody. But what would they be? And I think the reason I ask is because that's how good Alabama is. Alabama is clearly a team that is built to play with a Georgia type team. This Georgia team is fantastic. So, Coach, I have a couple questions for you. And then I know I've been asked inside the comment box a couple times. Yes, I am going to take calls once Coach and I are done. So I'm going to finish this out. Coach and I are going to talk about Alabama, Georgia, and then I'll take a quick pause, and then I will take your guys' calls. So that's what's coming up right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Okay, so next up, Alabama versus Georgia. This team has won now 29 games in a row. Carson Beck, their quarterback, is playing lights out. Yesterday, it was kind of back and forth with their rival, Georgia Tech, which was kind of interesting. I don't know if they're kind of, looking to this next game against Bama or resting out some guys. I know Brock Bowers didn't play the entirety of that game. So what's at stake, Coach? I know that's an easy question, but what's at stake in this game, and what's kind of your early assessment of Alabama versus Georgia?
I think everything is at stake. I think our future is at stake. I think the crown of the king of college football is at stake. You let Georgia go in and beat us in Atlanta and go on to a third straight championship. That's unprecedented. When you look at the tail of the tape, if you will, this is going to be a very difficult game for Alabama to win. I mean, I'll just keep it honest. For me, the truth is in the details. It's not in the Bama crimson glasses and all that. I tell it like it is. It's going to be tough for us to win this football game. We cannot come out lethargic like we did against Auburn. Now, this will be a different atmosphere because it's not really a home game for either team. Yes, it's in Georgia, but the Georgia Dome has been good to Alabama. Georgia would not present the same type of misdirectional team that usually gives us problems. Georgia wants to play you in a phone booth. They want to play you in a phone booth. One thing I give Georgia respect for, they know who they are. They're 100% supremely confident in their identity, and they're not going to change it, not even for Alabama. It's going to be tough for us to win this football game unless we play our best football game of the season. No, they're not LSU on offense, but they're more balanced than LSU, which in my opinion makes them more dangerous. They can attack you through the tight end. They can attack you from the receivers. Their quarterback is highly accurate. They have a very capable offense to do us dirty if we go out there and make some mistakes. So on the flip side of that, the one team that matches up very well with Georgia, and they know it, is Alabama. Everything they do, we have an answer for. We just got to go out and play our game. Alabama matches up with University of Georgia better than any team in the country, right? And they know that. So we got to play our best football. Jalen has to have a Jalen Milroe type game. I don't want to see him out there acting like Peyton Manning. Throw the football when it's open, but if it is not open, I need those legs going. I need you, because that is how we win this football game, guys. Georgia is very sound defensively. Jalen Milroe can put the safeties in a bad situation. Do I come up and tackle Milroe? Do I stay with my receiver? Georgia's discipline. We need Milroe to be Milroe this game, and I think if we play our football game, we'll have a very, very good chance to win that game against Georgia. And this is just the straight up truth.
I think the reason I ask what's at stake is because I think there's much more on the line than just getting to the, winning the SEC title or getting into the playoffs. I think when you look to the overall landscape of college football, Coach Saban is going to be here, hopefully, several more seasons. And I think what Kirby Smart is doing at Georgia is a real trying to change of the guards that they are the new dynasty in college football. And I think a win against Alabama and another win for Kirby Smart against Nick Saban would do so much more for their program. It will kind of say and continue to solidify in Georgia's minds that we are that team. We are that dynasty. And they truly feel that. I mean, I go back all the way to the SEC Media Day when Kirby Smart didn't even really want to talk about the times that he was out Alabama and that they don't really even compare themselves like Alabama. We all know that Alabama and Georgia are very similar in the terms of, the athletes that they have, the recruits that they have, and every single facility upgrade that Alabama has, Georgia has to implement that as well. There's a lot of names that have been from Alabama to Georgia, and there's some guys on Alabama's team that can, I think like Jermaine Burton and Trez Marshall, those guys are from Georgia. They know, can you imagine how those guys are anticipating this type of game going into the SEC title game? But I think there's much more to this game. And I honestly feel that these two teams are the best two teams overall in college football. And I've said it before, and I say it again, Jalen Milroe, when he wants to take over a game, he can. I mean, he did last night. He took over that game. And the reason why I say took over the game is because when he runs and when he throws and when he just goes out and complete balls, it's too hard to deal with him. You can't. Does a win get Alabama into the playoffs, Coach?
I think it depends on what happens in the other games. I think if Washington defeats Oregon, that's a plus for us if we win the SEC. I think if Texas wins the Big 12, that's also a plus, but we could have a great time if they lose. That would help us even more. I think what happens in the other games will determine whether we get in or not. That is absolutely huge. What happens in the other games, we definitely need for Florida State to get up out of there. We need them to be out of there because if Florida State wins, it doesn't look good for us. I do not believe they'll put us in over an undefeated ACC champion, even though I feel we would dump truck Florida State. Again, they'll tell you it's the four best teams, but I don't think it's the four best teams. It's the four most deserving teams. And Florida State would be an undefeated ACC champion. They'll get in. I think what happens in the other games will dictate whether we get in or not, if we can defeat Georgia. But before you can even look to any playoffs, man, you got to defeat that team in red and black from Athens. Real quickly, Georgia plays a lot of man. They do a lot of similar things than we do. They rotate their middle linebackers, and the linebackers a lot different than we do, and they play front seven a lot different than we do on third down. But their back end is very similar to ours. Very similar calls, very similar play strategies, leverages, the whole nine. So the opportunities for Jalen Milroe will be there. Do we take them or do we not take them?
And Coach, this is the kind of my next question. I know I don't have it on the board, but this is a question that I had as well. Does a one-loss Georgia still get into the playoffs? Because and people out there being like, yo, Alabama beat Georgia. And Steve said it inside the comment box. It's like, it's not a guarantee that Alabama beats Georgia. 100%. Like, this Georgia team they are built to win another national title. 100%. That's why we're saying, and that's why I'm saying, like, if Alabama does beat this team, my goodness, like, what does that say about Alabama and how they're playing at this time of year? But with that said, the resume that Georgia has, how they've been playing, does a one-loss Georgia team still get into the playoffs with Alabama? Or do they get into the playoffs and Alabama still remains outside of the playoffs? And the reason I say that is because the committee did the exact same thing last year when Kansas State was able to beat TCU. It was an undefeated TCU, and they still put TCU inside the playoffs. Coach?
Let me say this, and hear me closely so you can come back and call me Sean Stradamus after this happened. You know what I'm saying? Georgia hadn't lost a game, guys, if we're being honest, in almost 3 years. Think about what I'm saying. The last team to beat Georgia was this very game 2 years ago. It was the University of Alabama with Jamison Williams, JMO. You're talking about regular season games. This team hadn't lost a regular season game, if I can remember, since Alabama at Alabama 3 years ago with Jalen Waddle and them there. So do you leave a Georgia team out that got beat by a very hot team in Alabama? Man, that is the key question, because a one-loss Georgia team would still dump truck Washington, Oregon, Michigan to me, right? So, but see that, remember, guys, they're not going to think about that, though. That's not what the committee's here to do. They're not here to pat the SEC on the back and say, yeah, you could beat this. Do you leave a conference champion out for a one-loss Georgia team? For a one-loss SEC championship team in Alabama? It's just a cluster, man. What I think is going to happen, I think, and I'm going to say if we beat Georgia, if we beat Georgia, it hurts to hear this, but if Texas keeps winning, if Washington keeps winning, we need Oregon to lose. That'll be a way in. But if Oregon wins and Texas wins, We are not jumping those two. They have shown you that, guys.
Mm-hmm.
People say we're going to go from 8 to 4. No, it's not. It's not. It don't work that way, guys.
Mm-hmm.
They've shown you. Notice how they've kept us, Oregon and Texas, in the same little bracket. No matter how good we look or how bad Texas look, they're
Mm-hmm.
not going to all of a sudden let you just jump two other conference champions.
Mm-hmm.
One of them you lost to, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've told you on every show we value head to head. Blah blah blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon is sort of the puppet master in this. If they lose to Washington, Washington's in, they're done. If Oregon wins, I think we're screwed because Washington's going to have a case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Texas is going to have a case.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be a cluster, man. We just got to win. We have to win and let the chips fall where they may.
Let me ask you this, Coach, before I ask you about Brock Bowers and trying to stop him. I don't know if you can stop him at all. You can try to contain him. But, okay, so you have all the big conference championships taking place, okay? What is the granddaddy of them all? I know they use that for the Rose Bowl, but what's the biggest deal? What are all eyes going to be on? Is it going to be, let me just read these out, okay? Is it Oregon and Washington? You're like, okay, another rematch. That is exciting for sure. Is it Michigan and Iowa? You're like, Iowa, can they even score a point in that game? Is it Louisville and Florida State? I mean, is that really going to tell us, who the best team is? Is it Texas and Oklahoma State? You're like, how did Oklahoma State come back and win that game? Because it would have been great to see Texas and Oklahoma. Or is it Alabama and Georgia? Everybody knows. Everybody knows that the players in that particular game on that particular field are going to be future NFL type players. These are the two best teams in college football based off the coaching, based off the past, based on the current time. These are the teams that are really going to solidify the best of the best. And that's why it's going to be hard for the committee, if Alabama is able to beat Georgia, for them to leave the Georgia Bulldogs out as well. These are the two top teams. Who are the best teams at this current point in time? Georgia, Alabama, about to show you on this this SEC title game. I think it's going to be fantastic. And how do you stop a player like Brock Bowers, Coach? Because he can simply take over a game. He's eaten up Alabama before. If you're Kevin Steele, if you're T-Rob in Alabama's defensive room, what are you guys talking about with Brock Bowers?
With Brock Bowers, it's very simple. What makes him tough to defend is he's not like most tight ends. Catch the intermediate routes, catch the underneath stuff. Brock Bowers is a huge, oversized receiver, wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The guy can go deep. The guy can run the 9 routes. The guy can run the hitches, the comebacks, the high lows, the posts. He can do it all. So I think the way you defend him is with your star, depending on where he lines up, obviously, with safety help over the top.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that helps us with Brock Bowers is Georgia's not going to be extremely spread outish, if you know what I mean. They're going to keep everything closed in the box and they're going to run the football. So we don't have to ask our safety to do too much, but help out on Brock Bowers over the top on the hashes, and hope our star just don't get consistently beaten, putting them in one-on-one with our safeties. So that's how you defend Brock. Auburn, the first half actually did a pretty good job of it. The second half, they start moving Brock around, created some advantages on the defensive side of the ball, and he absolutely destroyed them. But I think you got to have a safety over the top. You got to have your star, whoever he's matched up on, keep him off linebackers, for God's sakes. Don't let a linebacker get matched up on him. That's an L from jump.
So are you saying, Coach, then with the star position, are we saying that it's Malachi Moore, and with the safety over the top, that's either going to be Jalen Key or Caleb Downs up the top? So are we saying Malachi Moore versus Brock Bowers?
Yeah, that's what it'll be. That's what it'll be, depending on where they line Brock up at. Depending on where they line him up at. Now, they could split him out the X, so they could have put him on the outside receivers, the boundary or the field side. Depending on where they line him up at, that's going to be the number one matchup, Malachi and a safety over the top to help. I'm sure that's what Coach Saban's going to do. I'm positive he's not going to ask Malachi to man up on that guy and put him on the island with him, which sometimes in some third down instances, that will be the case. But for the most part, you let the safety hang over the top. Georgia's going to run the football, keep 2 safeties high, and that's how you try to limit that guy's opportunities.
And I think just like Lewis is saying, I feel that this is kind of how the committee and the rest of the college football world looks at this particular game. I don't see how Alabama can beat Georgia at all. That's why I'm saying if Alabama is able to beat this Georgia team, it's going to send shockwaves throughout the entire country and say, hey, this Bama team beat this unbeatable Georgia team. You got to get this team in. Coach, any final thoughts when you talk about Alabama versus Georgia? I know we're going to talk about it, all this week, but any other keys to the game, early keys to the game? I know we're going to kind of dive more into Georgia and Alabama, and we're still kind of digesting, the Milrose miracle. But what's your final thought on this Georgia Alabama upcoming SEC title game?
My final thought is I would tell the fans, please don't. I said this last week. Don't take too much from previous games and apply it to Alabama and Georgia. I said last week, don't take too much from the New Mexico State game. Forget the fact what he done against Georgia Tech. He'll be featured against Alabama because that's the only way they can win. So throw out whatever happens against Georgia Tech. Throw out whatever happened against Auburn, right? The key to us defeating Georgia is Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe. You cannot practice for a quarterback like that, right? A quarterback like that, real briefly, he puts your secondary, your safeties, your linebackers in situational things. Do I come up and tackle this guy? That's when he throw the ball. Do I make a decision? Jalen Milroe is the key to this thing. Our offensive line playing well, and Jalen Milroe. If Jalen Milroe plays like he played against Kentucky, I have no doubt that we'll beat any team in the country, Georgia included. And Kirby Smart knows that. Jalen Milroe is the key, guys. Remember that.
All right, Coach. Well, I appreciate you being here, man, and chopping it up with me on this beautiful, college football Sunday as Alabama now gears up for the SEC title game. Coach, appreciate you, and we will catch up with you next time.
No problem, man. I appreciate you guys, and roll tide.
All right, roll tide to you, Coach. All right, that was Coach Sean coming in. My name's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. I'm going to take your calls right now, so just give me 1 second. I'm gonna patch everything together, and I'll be back right here on Bama Football on YouTube to take your calls. Get ready to call on the phone lines. I want to get your take on this Alabama victory over Auburn and start talking about the SEC title game. Give me 1 second. All right, we'll go right to the phone lines. I got 5 lines open. So when you guys call in, we already have 5 callers in the queue. We got a 251, a 973, a 251, a 256, and a 731 with the quick fingers. These are the topics that I would like to focus on along with the college football playoff rankings. When you call in, let's get to the points and let's fly through the callers. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. So let's get our points in and then let's move to the next caller. So with that said, we open up the phone lines and we start with the 251. Let's get it started. Hey, hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from? Oh, 1 second, Robert. 1 second. 1 second. Give me 1 second. All right. Robert, what's up, man? How's it going? Appreciate you calling in, man.
Hey, my heart made it. It was tough, though, but the heart attack was close. But it might manage to survive the Iron Bowl again. And the voodoo dolls. I thought we were going to beat the witch doctors this time in Jordan here, but those witch doctors are powerful. That voodoo is something else.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And I tweeted that out earlier in the game. Bama Football on YouTube, on Twitter, and so you have the face mask penalty, and they call it a block in the back. And from that moment in time, I was like, oh my goodness, who else knows what's going to happen in this particular game? And then you have a couple other calls that were just odd. I mean, the Jermaine Burton, his foot was in what part of his shoe was out of bounds, right? It's like the dude caught it. He was wearing white cleats, and you could see almost the outline between like the green grass and the out of bounds line. I mean, a lot of calls in this game. It's just, look, forever. I never want to go into that game saying that whoever's going to win, because we just do not know who is going to win that game or the outcomes.
Well, and the worst part about Jermaine Burton catch is, okay, you initially rule he caught it. How did you overturn it to say he didn't? So now it's up to the booth to overturn a he didn't catch it call versus a he did catch it call.
Yep.
That was just, okay, whatever. I heard Coach and you guys talking yesterday on the post-game show, and the coach was totally right. They got into a bit of a debate about Milroe's indecisiveness about running, but Coach was right. There was a lot of opportunities that, Milroe, he got 100 and some odd yards rushing. That's great. But, man, 150 to 200 yards was on the table that you could have got. And it was like, especially that fourth and forever. I like to call it fourth and forever myself. I rewatched it. It's like it should never have been fourth and forever or fourth and 31. It should have been at most fourth and 10, because you have a lot of green grass between you and the end zone, and you'd have gotten 10, 15 yards easy before you engaged anyone, and you decided to throw up beyond the line of scrimmage. That was not a dude, like the coach said, he's got to take advantage of his full skill set. You are the best mobile dual threat quarterback in the country if you allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to be. It's don't hold back. So much gets opened up when you don't hold back. It makes your game better. It makes the team better. I don't understand the indecisiveness with him and when to run sometimes. It's just, it gets really perplexing.
Yeah, because I think on that, and sorry to interrupt you, Robert, but I agree. It's like sometimes he has this ability that he's not fully just allowing just to take over, right? It's like it's been rare to just see him actually just like take off and go for it. Even on that short yardage against Auburn, when him and the Auburn guy collided in the fourth quarter, I thought he could have just buried that guy or just went for the first down, right? Sometimes I'm with you. It's just like, why don't you just go completely beast mode and just use your God-given ability and just run as hard and as fast as you can? He does that sometimes, but that's why I'm still thinking that he hasn't even gone monster Milroe mode. We've seen it against LSU and Auburn when he's had to kind of take over that game, but I still think there's so much more to come from his game.
Absolutely. And if you hone in and then Saban mentioned it during his press conference, which, it was blatantly obvious. I'm hoping that Coach mentioned it in the press conference, because, Saban, he's never talking to reporters or to us. He's talking to his players.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he tells you that without directly telling you that, that it clicks now, dude, because we really, this is gut check time here. Now we need it. We need every ounce of Monster Milroe you can give us. Don't hesitate. Take off. Get us that 5-10 yard. And the underneath stuff. Hit that underneath stuff. We don't need hero ball. We need a good game managing throws and game managing plays that keeps the ball away from the other team, especially with Georgia. If you do that, dude, you will make yourself an NFL quarterback. Yeah, I know you think you think the NFL wants you to in the pocket. No, that's the old NFL, my friend. The new NFL wants the Lamar Jackson. Yeah, they want the Jalen Milroe. So no, the game has changed in the quarterback position, and you need to hopefully you see that and you show the full skill set. You do that, you can make yourself first round draft pick. But it was the style points hurt us again, because that's the only thing that's got Oregon over us are those style points that we haven't managed to get, but Oregon had. But I disagree with Coach on this. If Alabama beats Georgia and Oregon, we need Oregon to beat Washington, because there is no case for Oregon being over Alabama. There is no legitimate case based on resume, which they keep telling us. Alabama's resume trumps Oregon's resume, and we will have the ace, and we have the ace of spades beating Georgia, or the big joker, if you want to say the big joker. We'll have laid down the big joker beating Oregon, beating Georgia.
Yeah.
That should win the game. Win the game for it over Oregon. So we need Oregon to win and to beat Washington. The undefeated Washington, okay, all bets are off. You got undefeated conference champions all over the place. Forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we get a one-loss Alabama and a one-loss Oregon, and you look at the resume honestly, because this is your own rankings committee. Alabama has beaten Ole Miss and LSU, which is better than any win, and we will have beaten Georgia, which will be better than any win that Oregon had. Oregon will only have 2 ranked teams, and really Oregon State will be probably out of the top 25 in their last poll. So if you go off your last poll, Oregon would have only beaten 1 team in the top 25, and that would be Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama will have 3.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, give me the math. If they do that, they will send the message they want the SEC out because they know the SEC will win again. That's the only message you could be sending at that point.
Yeah, and I think I think you bring up a really good point. And even though that Oregon is currently ahead of Alabama, I think if Alabama is able to win the SEC title and beat number 1 Georgia, and Oregon is able to beat an undefeated Washington, I think when those 2 teams are now side by side, you look at the quality of Alabama's wins, and as you mentioned, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Georgia, those teams are going to be the ranked wins that Alabama has on their resume, including the number 1 team in college football. And when you look to Oregon, who have they beaten? They've beaten a number 4 Washington, and that's it. I think that, when you start to compare those teams, that's how Alabama jumps some of these teams ahead of them, including even at Texas, because you look kind of how Texas, now I know Texas played really well against Texas Tech, but overall, like resume wise, those wins certainly, stand out for Alabama. All right. Robert, before I move to my next caller, man, any opening thoughts about Alabama versus Georgia?
Yeah, like Coach said, it comes down to Milroe. Dude, no more indecision. No more indecisiveness in the run. Hopefully, they'll show you the film. They'll show you the tapes.
Yep.
They'll show you the places where you had open space and you didn't take it. Now, like in that 4th and 31, it was a great play to watch. But it should never have happened because it should have been 4th and 10 at the most. Mm-hmm. So you made it 4th and 31 by your indecisiveness. Mm-hmm. Let's don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, great play to watch, but it was a play that didn't have to happen. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you listen to the coaches and you watch the film and then you be ready to go. All right, man.
All right, man. Take it easy, Robert. Appreciate you calling in, man. All right, that was Robert calling in from Mobile. We have a 973 and 251 256 in an open line. 973, let's do it. I appreciate you being patient. Hey, how's it going? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Kyle, Chris from New Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Chris? I appreciate you calling in, man. Welcome to the show, man. Take it away.
Well, we're all recovering from last night. My heart's okay. But, I think what happened last night is classic. It's just classic human nature. Let's go back a week and go to Auburn. Hugh Freeze has been game planning for Alabama all year. Mm. He game planned the entire week against New Mexico State, and look what happened. He lost. Mm-hmm. Now, why did he do that? Because if he had won last night, ESPN, the SEC Network, us, would be talking about, what a great victory for Auburn, what a bad victory it is for Alabama. Mm-hmm. It would help his entire program. It'd probably be the biggest thing since either Cam Newton or Kick Six, mm-hmm. right? So, mm-hmm. and listen, I we're all crazy Alabama fans, but all week for weeks, they're talking about the matchup between Alabama and Georgia. Mm-hmm. You don't think that there's a minor amount of overlooking Auburn? I know it's the Iron Bowl. I get it. Mm-hmm. But, they're also looking at the point spread, 14.5 points. Mm-hmm. They just lost to New Mexico. We're going to blow them out. Sure. Now, so it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So, and talking about Milroe last night, I'm going to say this. I'm telling you right now, Tommy Rees and Saban, they didn't want Milroe taking off as much as he could have. Why? Mm-hmm. They're worried about injury. Mm-hmm. They need the only chance, and I agree with Coach Sean. The only chance Alabama beats Georgia is Milroe, right? Mm-hmm. We all agree with that. So you can't, if you saw that hit he took, that collision, I was worried that both of them were going to be down. Mm-hmm. without Milroe, now we're sunk. So, so I'm sure that'll be a totally different game plan for next week, and the game plan is going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's it was an incredible play. Milroe's going to go down in history. If Milroe was running a lot more, there was a lot more design run plays for him.
Mm-hmm.
God forbid one of the Auburn guys knocks him out of the game. That'll make that guy's life in Auburn lore. We knocked out Milroe. We won the game, blah, blah, blah. So, we all know the importance of this in history. Ja'Cory Brooks is going to go down in history for that catch, period, right? All the other history over the years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years back. This is a big game, especially if you're from Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. So, that an incredible win, and now on to Georgia. Now, here's where I go wrong with Coach Sean, and we're not that wrong. Is the reason why the committee has Alabama where it is right now, and I think by Tuesday they'll be ahead of Ohio State, so it'll be a little closer, is they don't believe there's any chance Alabama beats Georgia. That's what they believe. Now, when Alabama does win next week, their methodology is going to be completely blown up. And like I said last week, 100% Alabama's in. Win and in. All those other scenarios are out the window. Their methodology is there's no chance Alabama wins, and they don't have. That's why they're not even giving it a thought. If Alabama wins, they're in. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I got to tell you, I think that the game plan is going to be incredible. It'll be tight at halftime. Mm-hmm. I believe that Georgia hasn't been tested all year, and Alabama is going to beat them in the second half, beat them pretty good, and there's going to be a lot of turnovers, and they're going to lose their composure a little bit. Mm-hmm. Remember, that happened. That happened not too long ago. So, mm-hmm. I see Bama, and I see Bama winning the whole thing now. So mm-hmm. I don't see how. Excuse me. Anything changes. I think next week's the national championship. Mm-hmm. Get the popcorn out, get comfortable, watch the national championship game because it's next Saturday.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I've been saying that as well. I think that when you have Alabama and Georgia, I mean, these are two heavyweights, and I kind of revert back to what Coach Saban has said in some of these big-time SEC games is that Georgia's going to get theirs, Alabama is going to get theirs, and it comes down to the team that can play the most consistent football for 4 quarters of play. Now, one of the things that's a little bit concerning to me, and I don't think it's that big of an issue, but something's going on with Will Riker, and I'm not sure what it is, but to be able to miss 3 field goals within this kind of back-end stretch is a little bit concerning to me. You go into a game like this, you need everything to be buttoned up on all facets of the game. Don't think it's too much to worry about, but him missing another field goal last night was a little bit strange to me, in my opinion. When you look to these two teams overall and how they match up, I mean, Alabama is one team that is built to beat Georgia. I think Georgia, they played a soft schedule for the majority of the season. It wasn't until the end where they were, faced with some challenging games. Missouri, Ole Miss, and Tennessee were able to win again against Georgia Tech in the back end. And one of the things about Georgia that I think will really challenge Alabama is the fact that Carson Beck is playing at a really high level, and they have receivers and a tight end to spread the football out, and then they have Milton who can really run the football as well. So they're a balanced type team. With that said, I think that Alabama's defense has been tested this entire season. We talk about this every single week, the teams that they have faced on the offensive front and the job that Kevin Still and that entire group has done week by week, making second half adjustments. Kirby Smart knows what's at stake, and that's why I was asking everybody or asking Coach Sean, what is at stake? And I think there's much more than just the SEC title and the playoffs. I think it goes way past this. I think it goes to recruiting. I think it comes to this entire bad moon rising that Georgia has certainly become. We all knew that Georgia could be this team eventually, and to now see them with another opportunity to climb one more step higher on this college football mountain, that's something that Kirby wants, and to be able to beat Nick Saban again would be certainly impressive. Chris, any other final thoughts regarding the Iron Bowl? Maybe your where were you on 4th and 31? What was going through your mind? Had you cashed it in? Were you? Did you still have faith? Kind of walk us through your 4th and 31 moment.
All right, I'm gonna come clean. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I was flipping out. I was absolutely. My wife, my dear wife, who has to watch these games with me and keep me. My wife, who when Bryce Young was doing it last year, she was saying the same thing. By the way, we're going to win. It's okay. Yeah, calm down. And I watched the catch, and my wife literally looked at me and said, "I told you." So yeah, I was freaking out, and but it was, oh my God, it's so nice to be on the right side of that. So
I think the thing that made it even more nerve-wracking, what made it more nerve-wracking, that entire play, was the play before it, because it was this wave of emotions, right? Like, Alabama's now driving, they recover the fumble. Okay, Bama's like, they're putting a drive together, they're going to score, and you know that they can't kick a field goal because they're down by 4. So you're like, okay, they have to put in the end zone. A little bit of anxiety, but they have the momentum. And then the missed snap, you just completely lose everything, because you're just like, Mike, are you kidding me? You get to this point of the season, it's all on the line. It's a 1-game elimination. Can you believe it came down to Auburn? I can't believe this. It's a missed snap, all this stuff. And then you have a 4th and 31, and for Hugh Freeze to literally drop back 9 players, and Jalen, I mean, that took forever. That play took forever, and to find Isaiah Bond, who comes through, I mean, that is one of the greatest moments in college football history. I mean, I just keep watching it again and again. There's so many different angles that fans have taken, and they showcase, Isaiah Bond, or IB, as Coach calls him, his ability to come up with it. Just incredible. But I appreciate you calling in, Chris. Please call again next time. I appreciate catching up with you, man.
We'll probably chime in, the rest of us. Great. Have a great rest of the weekend. Keep up the great work, and roll tide.
Absolutely, man. Roll tide to you, man. Call again next time, Chris. All right. We have a 251, a 256, a 731, and a 615 coming up next here on Bama Football on YouTube. Hey, fam, I appreciate you guys being here. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Stay tuned for more content. All this week, I'm live every single day, Monday through Friday, on the YouTube channel at 9 a.m. And I appreciate all the support. Honestly, thank you very much for believing in me. I didn't get SEC cred, or didn't get creds to go to the Iron Bowl. Sad that I had to miss it, but we still had a really good day in terms of pumping out the content. But I did get creds for the SEC title game. As I said, maybe it has to do with the fact that I am from New Mexico State. By the way, my Aggies won their 10th game last night in a game against Jacksonville State. Played 2 Alabama teams back to back. How about that? Jerry Kill doing a great job for the New Mexico State Aggies. What you can expect today, I'm going to take your call, so be patient. I'm going to get to you. But I have the SEC teleconference taking place today, which is Sunday the 26th at 4 p.m. Central Time. You're going to get Kirby Smart for 20 minutes, Coach Saban for 20 minutes. I'll make sure that is nice, packaged, edited with really nice audio, so you guys can listen to the opening comments for Coach Saban and Coach Kirby Smart going into this SEC title game. Monday, I believe we will have Coach Saban at the podium, but I will keep you guys posted on what's coming this way right here on Bama Football on YouTube. With that said, next up, we got a 251. Let's take it right now. Hey, thank you so much for calling in. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Hey, Kyle, it's Rusty from Gulf Shores.
Hey, Rusty, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for calling from Gulf Shores, man. Take it away.
All right, so I'm going to start with the 4th and 31. Well, actually, let me start here. I'm in Alabama, and my wife's an Auburn grad. We hate the Iron Bowl. We can't stand it. Listen, we've been married for a lot of years, and there's 3 times that we've almost gotten divorced, and all 3 of those times were directly after an Iron Bowl. So we both hate it. Last night's game, it's hard to enjoy it when I'm watching my wife cry. I mean, it really is. I think that, it kind of goes to my soul with that. I'm glad we won, though. She's not home right now, so I can say roll tide. But as far as the topics, my thought is this, is when it comes to the college football playoff rankings, I think you're going to see a lot from where they rank Ohio State. I think that it's going to be difficult for us to get in, even beating Georgia. I think that Texas is going to have to lose. I think that Oregon does have to beat Washington. That's just my opinion. I thought Florida would beat Florida State. That didn't happen, but I think Louisville will. So I think that'll take care of itself. But you're not going to tell me that Bama beats Georgia, that the committee, and I think they should take Bama over. It should, the SEC championship should matter. But they've loved Georgia. They've kept them where they've kept them. They've kept us where they've kept us. I cashed it in last night. It was like, you know what? I'd rather lose to Auburn and beat Georgia and not make the playoffs But I mean, who knows? As far as how to beat Georgia, I think that they are beatable. I think I've been hounded on this all year long. We got to be a time of possession type of team. I don't like when we get into the situation where we start spreading things out, but I think that's what we're going to have to do against Georgia. However, doing that against Georgia has a speed, on the edge that can compete with us. So I think it's going to be a tall task, but I think we can beat Georgia. All the Michigan and Ohio State, I think both of those teams are overrated. I mean, I agree with what Coach said earlier. Like they're good, sound, fundamental teams, but I don't think that they have the talent that SEC teams have. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got this morning. But like I said, dude, you do a great job. I feel heartbroken for my wife, and my wife feels heartbroken for me when Alabama loses. I hate the freaking Iron Bowl. We both grew up in it, but we still hate it. So anyway,
wait, Rusty, before you go, man, I have to ask you, man, since she's an Auburn fan and you're a Bama fan, you have to talk me through your 4th and 31 moment. I mean, are you watching this game together? Does she have like an Auburn room and you have your Bama room? Like, were you guys watching the game together? Walk me through your 4th and 31 moment.
All right. Fortunately for us, we've got multiple TVs in our house. We got them outside by the pool. We've got them inside. We've got multiple rooms. And it started off with me, her, and her uncle watching the game. Both of them are Auburn grads too. So you can imagine how that went. Well, he got perturbed after the first 2 quarters, and so he left. He saw where it was going. It's a good thing because we probably would have had freaking mass murder or something. I don't know. But my wife's in, I think she's in her bedroom. I'm on the other end of the house. So I'm staying out of her lane. She's staying out of my lane. But immediately you knew who won. She came in and she was just shaking her head. She's like, it's the anniversary of the kick six. This is why I love my wife, though. She's crying. She's upset Auburn lost, but she's happy Alabama won. And it's like, listen, I've been to a lot of SEC football games, and I will tell you this by far. Auburn and Alabama is a rivalry, but the classiest fans by far that I've ever encountered are when I go to an Auburn game with her. I mean, by far. And she doesn't, and then just to be honest, she doesn't get the same respect when she goes to Alabama games with me. So it is what it is, but I'm still roped out to the day I die. So anyway.
All right, Rusty. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with me, man, and soak it up. And at least while she's gone, and hopefully, I think for her sake too. Like, look, Hugh Freeze is the boogeyman. We all know that. And with the backing of Yellowwood behind him, I mean, that's a scary program. And there's been some smoke talking about that Will Rogers, who could potentially enter the transfer portal, that could be a destination for Auburn. I mean, if they ever get a quarterback rolling and who knows? I mean, because I'm telling you, like, Hugh Freeze can coach against Coach Saban. Say what you want. I mean, he was almost 3-3 against Coach Saban last night. So, Rusty, I appreciate you calling in from Gulf Shores, man. Enjoy the back end of November, man, and we'll catch you soon. Call in anytime, man. I enjoy talking with you.
Appreciate you.
All right, man. See ya. That was Rusty down at Gulf Shores. We got a 256, a 731, a 615, and a 334 coming up next right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys joining. Hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe. We got 418 watching. Definitely should, have 418 thumbs up inside the comment box. I'll be live all this week, Monday through Friday. And, of course, I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia this week, coming to you before the SEC title game. Can't wait to see Alabama and Georgia take place this coming Saturday at 3 p.m. 256, you ready? I appreciate you being patient. Hey, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
What's up, man? It's Luke.
Hey, what's up, Luke? I appreciate you calling in, man. Luke from Weaver. Welcome to the show, man. Take it away.
Man, first of all, man, Will Riker had implications on that kick, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2 points away from being the all-time NCAA scorer on top of everybody. So maybe he was a little nervous. I don't know. But also, we're talking about Milroe. Yeah, he made some mistakes, but our defense, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
How many yards did they run on us? 244?
Yeah, 244. Yeah, the most they've allowed this entire season for sure, by a ton.
you're right. Georgia's not going to do the same things they did. That misdirection got us, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That misdirection just tore everything up. And I really want to know where AJ's at right now. He brought up that Tua thing. You know how he talked about that Tua pass was luck at the end. Look, when Georgia and Alabama were playing, it was the same thing almost. A messed up snap, a sack. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They were both in the back. But check this out. Georgia couldn't just wait in the end zone because they could have got a first down. So Devontae Smith was able to get past them. Good pass.
Mm-hmm.
They had broken coverage.
Mm-hmm.
With Jalen, he only had one spot to go.
Mm-hmm.
He could only go in the end zone. They knew what he was doing. And Isaiah Bond saw the pass coming.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see Isaiah Bond took a step in, faked the dude out, and then stepped back out and used his body as leverage and caught the ball. His body was in the out of the end zone, but his feet just laid right in there. Perfect throw.
Look, and this is inside the comment box. All right, help me out with this. Come two different plays, right? The title game's on the line. Really the season's on the line for the 2nd and 26 and the 4th and 31. Let's just. I haven't even thought about this up until now. What was the more difficult throw? Honestly, I mean,
Jalen.
Right? I'm kind of thinking that Milroe's throw, right?
Because look, they had to play defense to stop Tua, and Devontae Smith got by, and it was a good throw. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't something that they knew was coming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
They could have thrown for a first down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Just Smith got by, but they knew this was going in the end zone. They knew this had to go in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
No other choice. It's somewhere in the end zone. They thought it was going to be a floater. They thought they were jumping up and tipping the ball. Jalen Milroe steps back, and I know it's only a 31-yard pass on a thing, but he threw a 40-yard bomb, a missile, right into Isaiah Bond. You see, Isaiah Bond jumped, but he didn't really jump. He just hopped up, and it just right into his breadbasket, right into his hands, bro. Perfect throw. You can't get it better than that. And all this had to happen, bro. People were talking about, is this good or bad for the team? Milroe, this is great for him. Milroe made some mistakes and emotional heat. But to be able to do this with the game on the line is going to do a ton for his confidence. It is going to raise his confidence through the roof. And what you gonna say? My bad.
I think you're absolutely right with the confidence factor. Like because what keeps on happening is he keeps on getting put into these situations where people keep doubting him, and he keeps on proving people wrong. So it's almost better that he continues to play with that reverse rat poison, right? The chip on your shoulder, because I mean, everybody saw the emotion of him after the game, right? Alabama tweeted out, put it on the Instagram, the incredible emotion as that game ended. And he's like, give me that mother effing Heisman, right? Like,
you're doing a little too much right now.
Like that, like, what I'm getting at is like the fact that he has had so many people doubt him. This team has had so many people doubt the entire team, more than we've ever had a team doubt Alabama ever. And people still are going to doubt Alabama because of the outcome of this game against Auburn. But the thing that continues to be factual is the team continues to win every single week since that loss. What is factual is the fact that they are 8-0 in SEC play. What is factual is the fact that Jalen Milroe threw for over 250 yards, including the game winner, and also rushed for over 100 yards in that game. Those type of games, Coach Saban has said it before, no matter what you do against Auburn, or no matter what you do as a player at Alabama, you're mostly remembered by what you did against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Everybody is going to remember. Jalen Milroe became a legend last night. I mean, it's too early for us to really think about that because it's so fresh. but he's a legend, 100%. And that performance and that throw will be one that lives up there with second and 26 and all these great moments for Alabama. But that 4th and 31 was incredible. Someone even said it inside the comment box. It said that 4th and 31 is even hard on Madden. Yeah, it's hard to throw a 15-yard slant on Madden. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the confidence factor is certainly up there. What else you got, Luke?
Especially when they know where the ball is going.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Bond, and that's why I can't just name this play after Milroe. We can't do that. We can't name it the Mill. Bro, this is a team game. Isaiah Bond faked that dude out.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Bond leaned inside, got that dude to think it. Like I said, they thought it was going to be a floater.
Mm-hmm.
They thought he was throwing a. And this is another point for AJ for listening. Bro, any other quarterback, 4th and 31, you got to throw it in for a lob. So hopefully somebody can get it. Milroe threw a missile into there, and Bond did right. Bond faked the dude out, didn't have enough time to get to the ball. If that would have had some air under it or something, the cornerback or the safety, whoever he was, would have got to it and knocked it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then does this game remind you of a game earlier in the season where other people's mistakes could have cost us the game, and Milroe made some mistakes that did cost us the game.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, 2 touchdowns got called back, and Milroe didn't throw the interception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got to just stop looking at Milroe. I know he ran over the line a couple times. The dude said it in his press conference afterwards. He was a little emotional, It was going through him. He made a couple mistakes, but he didn't make any big ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that holding penalty was trash. Now, the one that he ran over the line, I guess you can call that his. I keep forgetting that he did over the line.
Yeah, I think he did that twice. Yeah, I think he did that twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that holding penalty was trash because that face mask would not have happened if he wasn't pushed from behind. So I don't know if they had that in their head and called a phantom holding call because they wanted their get guy, but you can't call back a touchdown for a face penalty that would have been canceled out and nothing would have happened because they got nothing on the drive anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 3 and out.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Mm-hmm.
So I think the rest was trash last night. And with the college football playoff 3, they're gonna. We can't. Everybody's still winning, man.
Mm-hmm.
This is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Get backup quarterbacks, and I think the 3rd string even came in for Florida State last night for like.
Yeah, he did. He did. He did.
Yeah. So, people just keep winning, and I think they can't do us like they did TCU and Kansas last year. If we beat Georgia, we are in, we're both in, or no one's in.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the head-to-head for Texas and us matters, then the head-to-head for us and Georgia matters.
Great point, Luke. Luke, I got to move to my next caller, man, but I appreciate you calling in. And honestly, man, I really like your takes on football, man. I enjoy catching up with you, so please call again. You know where to find me, Luke. But honestly, man, you have really great points, and I love talking college football with you, Luke. I appreciate it, man. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.
Yeah, you too, bro.
All right, man. Take it easy. That's my boy Luke from Weaver. Honestly, I think I like catching up with Luke, man. Every time he calls in, man, he's kind of I think at the end of the year, I might do some awards for like new callers of the year, best rant, who had the worst take. Maybe give out some awards and some gift cards or even maybe some Lank hoodies. By the way, you can buy the merch that you see underneath by hitting any of the merch details inside of this YouTube video. So I appreciate you guys following. But I think we need to do kind of the end of the year show and we'll give out some awards. How about that? Biggest troll inside the comment box. I think that could be one as well. I'm just kidding. KJ, I love you, man. I know you love your Georgia Bulldogs, man. We appreciate you getting everybody fired up inside the comment box. It's Georgia Alabama week. Finally, we made it. There's a lot of people that didn't think that we would get to this point. There was a lot of people that had given up on this team. It was 4th and 31. Let's find out if our 731 had given up to on this team. 731-615-334-604. Man, we got codes. We got fans in different area codes like ludicrous. All right, 731, let's do it. Hey, I appreciate you calling in. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling in from?
Alex from Savannah, Tennessee.
Alex, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in, man. First of all, man, before we get going, please tell me about your 4th and 31 moment. Where were you? What TV were you watching? What was your anxiety level? Go ahead.
I was at my grandmother's Thanksgiving dinner, and my uncle, he's from Mississippi. He's an Alabama fan too. Me and him were watching it on my grandmother's TV, and first of all, let's talk about that fumble. That's when it all started.
Yeah.
When that fumble happened, me and him jumped up. We were so excited, and then the bad snap happened.
Mm-hmm.
We were silent. And I was like, it ain't over yet. We can get halfway there, and then on 4th down, we can get a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then Milroe had that penalty. My uncle probably already gave up. His hands was behind his head, and it was bad. He was not happy. And I was standing up, my hands on my knees, just praying. I'm not kidding. I was praying. And that ball went up, and Isaiah Bond caught it. I jumped up about 6 feet, and I was screaming, touchdown! I was screaming, touchdown, Alabama! And it was something. It was crazy. My hands were shaking. I was lightheaded. I stayed up like half the night last night. I could not sleep. I was still full of adrenaline.
What did your grandma say?
She was like, what's all that ruckus? What's all that ruckus?
All right, Alex. So as we turn the page to the next matchup with Georgia, what's kind of your opening thoughts as we start to talk about the SEC title game? I mean, overall, Georgia's resume is fantastic. Their quarterback is playing at a very high level. Defense, it's always been there for Georgia. I mean, that's been a team that has been built on defense, and now that they've went to a balanced approach on offense, I think that has really made them what they are today. So what are your opening thoughts on Alabama versus Georgia?
Well, there's no reason we can't win.
Mm-hmm.
We have Nick Saban. We have talent everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a good game plan, which Nick Saban is very capable of making. And, he's the greatest of all time, we are capable of doing this. I'm not trying to overhype Georgia by no means.
Mm-hmm.
But they are a good team.
Mm-hmm.
We're a good team too. So it's going to be a war.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be gritty. It's going to be rough. It's going to be physical.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a game of inches.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be tight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited for it. The SEC championship game, Alabama's mostly always there. Mostly. So, we've been there before. Georgia's been there before. We've beat them. They haven't beat us yet in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we haven't lost since 2008 in the SEC championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be rough, and I'm excited for it. Kirby Smart's a great coach, and we have the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm.
What's your thoughts, actually?
I mean, I'm really excited for Alabama to showcase, their abilities on this sort of a stage against Georgia, because I think all season long, despite what Alabama is able to do week by week, winning these, 10 games in a row or whatever it is, I think that it's always come back to that week 2 loss. And people are like, they've been boxed out of the playoffs because they lost back in the early season when this team wasn't even a complete team. It'd be like, and I said this a couple days ago on one of my shows. Remember, there was a large portion of the college football world that had Colorado as one of the rising teams in college football, right? And these are receipts, okay? Because Colorado was ranked number 19, right, at that point in time. Look where they are today. Nobody even cares what Coach Prime is saying anymore, right? Colorado is not relevant at all in the slightest. And look how far Alabama has come to this point. So it's like when you're ranking teams, rank them off this current point in time and rank the teams how they're playing as they are right now. And that's why Alabama will have one last opportunity before the playoffs to showcase where they are. And I think a win over this quality Georgia team that is playing outstanding football, if they are able to win, no matter the score, whatever it is, then I think the playoff committee will say, okay. And I think the rest of the college football world will finally say, oh, they're right. Like, Bama's certainly back. And we knew that, 5 weeks ago, whatever, is the only way that they're going to get the respect back was to beat the Georgia Bulldogs head to head. So they have that opportunity right now. And even the score against Auburn, people don't understand the Iron Bowl. If you're not in the Southeast, like I wasn't in the Southeast for a long time, I didn't understand the magnitude of that game. The first time I went down there, Alabama was undefeated and they lost to Auburn. It was a Kevin Steele defense to tell a story all the time. They were completely beat up and down the field by Auburn, and they ended up winning the national title game. They didn't even play in the SEC title game that year. So my point is that rivalry game, that game's crazy, especially when it's over there, bananas. So, and that's why I think like Chief 18 is saying we're too inconsistent, meaning that Alabama is too inconsistent. And I think that's how the committee is seeing Alabama, is being too inconsistent. However, the facts is they win. And the facts are, if they're able to beat Georgia, a team that is ranked number 1 in the college football playoffs, I just can't see them getting left out. So my take is this is another great opportunity to prove the naysayers wrong, to prove everybody wrong, to be able to show that you can beat the number 1 team in college football, the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, you're right, Kyle. The guy before me, I think his name is Luke, if I remember right.
Yep, Luke from Weaver. Mm-hmm.
Luke had an amazing take. You know, if we win, if we beat Georgia, we are in, or we're not. Or it's either we are in,
yes,
or nobody's in. Because if they're going to put Texas ahead of us, then how are they going to put Georgia ahead of us if we beat them? So it's either both of us are in,
yes,
or we're not. Like, we're in. We have to be. Like,
yeah. And I thought his point was great too. Is like, if head-to-head wins matter so much, then how would Alabama's head-to-head win has to matter the same as Texas' win over Alabama, right? Like, those head-to-head matchups, they start to come into play. And if Alabama has that, as Chris from New Jersey said, that joker card, that head-to-head win over Georgia, what are you going to say, right? So I guess we'll have to see. Anything else, Alex, regarding either the Iron Bowl or the Georgia before I move to my next caller?
I'm looking at the screen right now. I think I'll answer the how to stop Georgia and Brock Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
I think how we stop Georgia. We got to put pressure on what's his name again?
Carson Beck.
The quarterback's name. Yeah, Carson Beck.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot his name for a second.
You're fine.
But I think we got to blitz a lot, and we can't really do man coverage against Brock Bowers because we all see how that works out. Like, I think we blitz a lot and we do some zone coverage and maybe a little bit of man coverage, maybe a little bit. But I think we got to put pressure on Carson Beck so he's not comfortable, because he's been too comfortable in the past against Georgia and the past schedule. He's had too much time. And if we take that away and put him in a situation where he's not used to, I think that's how we can get the win, because we have a very nasty defensive front.
I think that getting pressure on Carson Beck, or the great thing for Alabama going into this game is that the defense has certainly been battle tested going up against elite wide receivers. Now, nobody has a caliber of tight end as Georgia, but with that said, the defense has been tested, and the fact that Alabama has been able to continue to make second half adjustments have been great. I think that the one thing I guess that does scare me was the fact that Hugh Freeze was able to find a lot of gaping holes running the football. I mean, to think that Auburn was able to run for 250 yards, let's just round up, in a game like this is concerning, especially going into a game like this where Georgia's a team that can run the football or they can pass the football. They're balanced. And, that is concerning. And if I'm Kirby Smart, I'm looking a lot at the Hugh Freeze tape. And Hugh Freeze almost has this blueprint to play Coach Saban down to the absolute wire, 100%. So that game comes at a really good time because it gives you a great scouting opportunity of what can we do to beat Alabama. And then you kind of look to the games against that Texas and LSU, teams that were able to go over the top against Alabama as well. And you have to have a really good quarterback, which Georgia does. And they have really good wide receivers. So love the matchup. Georgia's favored by 4.5 in this game, rightfully so. So we'll see how it turns out in the SEC title game. But Alex, I appreciate you calling in. Please call again next week, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide to you, man. All right, got a super chat coming in from Claire. Thanks for the content, Kyle. Great show as always. Appreciate you, Claire. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate everyone watching today. Thank you very much for joining us. We have Coach Sean at the beginning of the show talking about all the topics that you see from the 4th and 31 to the upcoming SEC title game against the Georgia Bulldogs. And next we have a 615, and we'll take that right now. Hey, thank you very much for being patient. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
Kyle, what's going on, man? This is David from Nashville. It's been a while.
Hey, what's up, David? I really appreciate you calling in. Hope you've had a great, back end of this November. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, man. Welcome to the show. Take it away.
Yeah, man, good to talk to you. So, look, I'm not one to feel sorry for Auburn fans. However, I will say that the kids that were like freshmen and sophomores in the year 2021 at Auburn, they are going to need some serious psychological counseling years from now. I mean, think about what those kids have been through. So in 2021, we come in and you see, it pans the crowd, right? And you just see them and they just look stunned. And I thought, well, that's bad. And then they just show the crowd again. And I'm thinking, that's the same kids. That's the same kids that have, the trauma that they have undergone. Look, and there's a part of me that feels bad. And yes, there's a part of me that kind of relishes in it, but the better part of me, I feels kind of bad for him, but only a little bit.
Hold on, David. I have to go off this because that's a good stat. I mean, here are the last couple games for Alabama versus Auburn, and when you look to those games, you're absolutely right. Last night it was Alabama off the nail biter, and then in 2022 it was Alabama 49, Auburn 27, and before that, Bryce Young leads Alabama down the field to Ja'Cory Brooks and wins 24-22. Before that, it was 42-13. You have to go back to 2019 and 2017. Those are the last two teams under Gus Malzahn that were able to beat Nick Saban. And even those, were back and forth contests. So I think, if you're right, like if you're a freshman there and now you're working your way up, my goodness, you're absolutely have PTSD from Nick Saban.
Yeah, especially the Auburn games, just because of the way they ended,
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you. This is admittedly like the most rat poison question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
Do you think that this is Destiny's team, this Alabama team?
Yeah.
There's a part of me that's starting to question if we are.
I think that this particular team is a team that is playing with a chip off their shoulder, and therefore that's allowing them to continue to get through adversity. Because there's been a lot of teams that I've covered that really haven't had adversity, that have always been kind of the odds-on favorite to win every single game. So when you look to this particular team and how people have gone against them and they continue to rise up. They can the whole let a naysayer know or prove the naysayers wrong, whatever it is, like that could not be more suited for this team. And the way that they and a lot of that, let's face it, all of it stems from the quarterback play of Jalen Milroe. Those two interceptions, people have never been able to get past it for the entire rest of the season. You look at Alabama's resume right on the screen. They don't care about any of that. It's all of those two interceptions, and they were never able to get back the quarterback play. And my reasoning to that, and because I've thought about this a long time, is because of the shoes that he's following, the number one quarterback taken in the NFL draft. You have Tua Tagovailoa, you have Mac Jones, you have Jalen Hurts, who just played for a Super Bowl. So coming in, how could the pressure not be so great, and how could you not be heavily scrutinized? And kind of the world of transfer portal. I was talking about this with a group of friends yesterday. The world of the transfer portal and kind of NIL has made there a lot more parity, and you see it with the top 8 teams right now in college football and teams able to buy players or whatever. So there's been so much against this team, and I think it's been so amazing to see the resiliency. This team has a ton of resiliency, and that gritty win against the Auburn Tigers, the win against Texas A&M, how this team has been able to transform and just kind of put everything together up to this point has really been one of the most fascinating and entertaining seasons that and probably most anxiety-filled seasons that I've ever had. Because look, from my perspective and from kind of the world that I live in, right? Like everything revolves around, for me personally, how the Alabama football season goes. So, it's better for the team clearly to win so we can continue to have shows and continue to have interest and all this stuff. So I live in that world. And if Alabama loses that game last night against Auburn, man, it's tough for even a content creator like me, because what happens after that? Even if they beat Auburn, people aren't that engaged because they're like, oh, well, they're out of the college football playoffs. You're going to end up playing in the Peach Bowl versus Tulane. So there's a lot of the line every single time when you have an anxiety-filled season like this. It's gone up and down, up and down. You've had fans, then you've lost them, then they've came back. It hasn't been just like this, complete domination of a season. They've gone up and down, up and down. To have them still 8 at this point with them being 11-1 is just mind blowing to me. It's been a wild ride to watch this team 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's entirely my point. Is that it just, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that it just doesn't seem to matter what you throw at this team. Yeah. Like, I think they could play, they go to the level that they need to go to get the job done. Yeah. If they play a 0-11 Auburn team and somebody stole all their shoes, they're going to barely beat them. And then if they have to play the Kansas City Chiefs, somehow they're going to find a way to pull that one out. It's just, in some ways it makes no sense, because it's just like, where is this coming from? But they just have this incredible ability. And I think the players deserve a lot of credit. The coaches deserve a lot of credit, but they have this incredible ability, that's hard to say, to rise to the occasion. Mm-hmm. And I do think you're right. I think a lot of it has come from Jalen Milroe. That kid has proved a lot of people wrong, myself included, I might add. Mm-hmm. I was never against Jalen Milroe, but I had my doubts just like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And he has really just done an absolutely amazing job. And you got to give a ton of credit to the kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've learned to believe in Jalen Milroe, and I've had confidence in him, and I've continued to see this young man grow. I mean, to be honest, if you guys really want to know, I thought that, I have enough confidence in this team. Like, I like to play DraftKings, and I know the play script of the team just because I'm so into Alabama football. And last night cleaned up $460 because I knew that putting the players and knowing the play script, Jalen Milroe, Isaiah Bond, Jermaine Burton, I mean, this team, like how they're finding themselves and how Tommy Rees is starting to use Kendrick Law is really, really impressive to me. I like the way that they're starting to sprinkle him in, and I just like the play of Kendrick Law and some of these rising sophomores. I know a lot of people are excited about potentially Evan Stewart, coming to Alabama, which would be amazing, or any of these other transfers that we're going to start to talk about. But man, these sophomores on this team are complete ballers. Who's going to start over Isaiah Bond? Right? Who's going to start over Kendrick Law? Who's going to start over Kobe Prentice? Right? You still have Malik Benson, who made a great catch last night, 33 yards. He's only a junior. Who knows? Maybe Ja'Cory Brooks gets healthy. He's coming back. So the wide receivers, absolute ballers for this team. And then you start to look at, some of these younger guys. Add to the fact that Jalen Milroe is a redshirt sophomore. Man, this team is doing a lot of great things, and they're starting to play more like juniors than sophomores. Anything else, David, while I have you on the line?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just everything that you said. Yeah, they're going to be a fierce team. As far as the playoffs go, I think it's pretty black and white. I think, unfortunately, if Washington and Florida State and Texas, I think those are. If Washington and Florida State keep winning, obviously, I can't imagine that Ohio State's going to lose to Iowa. I mean, I don't think that the committee is going to put us in over Texas, and I don't think they're going to put us in over a Washington or Florida State if they're undefeated. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I just think that's the way it is. I do think there is an enormous amount of incentive for television for television studios and for ESPN and for everybody else to keep people hanging on as long as possible. So I think everybody knows full well if Oregon beats Washington, then there's no question. If Alabama beats Georgia and Oregon beats Washington, you're putting Alabama in. I think everybody bloody knows that. But you're not going to come out and say it because you want ratings. You want people to stay engaged. You want the debate to go on as long as possible. Mm-hmm. But I think anyone with an ounce of common sense will know if Bama beats Georgia and it comes down at the end of the day to Oregon or Alabama, it's going to be Alabama. Like everyone can know this. It's just, it doesn't benefit any television studio to say that point blank. It benefits them to keep the debate going as long as possible because that's how everybody talks. That's what I think.
Yeah, and before you go, I think you're right. Like, okay, Alabama has to take care of Georgia, and Oregon would have to take care of Washington. And I think Oregon beating Washington, I mean, Oregon is playing at a really high level. They have a lot of momentum, but at the end of the day, they have to beat Washington because that would really be their only quality win on the season. And what is a better win? Beating Washington or beating an undefeated two-time defending champion Georgia in Georgia's resume as well? Because theoretically, you could say if you want to put, the teams that Georgia has beat this season, Missouri, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Alabama is able to beat Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, and then a number one Georgia. I mean, that's a heavy resume that Alabama does have. So, no, I think absolutely when if it is to come down to Oregon and Alabama and you put the two playoff resumes side by side, I mean, look, Alabama beating Georgia does a lot of things for the SEC, and it's going to be hard for people to leave out Georgia too. I'm serious. I mean, we've been talking that there's a log jam. I mean, the log jam. Georgia is going to be a really difficult team to leave out if Alabama is able to beat them. But David, I appreciate you calling in, man, and please call again next time. Hope to hear from you this week.
Yeah, man. Good to talk to you.
All right, man. See you, buddy. All right, David calling out from Nashville. Let's look at who are the teams are playing this coming week. You have Alabama versus Georgia in the SEC title game. Number 2, Ohio State lost to Michigan. You have number 3, Michigan taking on Iowa in the Big Ten title game. You have Florida State at 12-0 taking on Louisville. You have Washington and Oregon finally playing in the Pac-12 title game. They met 7 weeks ago with Washington winning in that was a great game down to the wire. You have Texas playing Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was losing to BYU. It looked like I had to turn the TV off. I thought they're going to lose, get blown out. Oklahoma State comes back, wins that game in overtime, and since they beat Oklahoma head-to-head, they will be playing Texas in the Big 12 title game, and then you have Bama taking on Georgia. Okay, so let me ask you this. Okay, so here are the playoff questions that I came up with earlier today before the show. So these are, and I might add more, but okay, let me read these out to you. So who is the best undefeated team? Answer inside the comment box, and this is as of today, November 26th. Is it Georgia, Michigan, Washington, Florida State? How about you just rank them inside the comment box? Who are the top 4 teams out of the undefeated? Who's the best? Georgia, Michigan, Washington, or Florida State? Who's the best one-loss team? Bama, Ohio State, Texas, Oregon. Right now, today. Toughest conference schedule in college, or toughest conference in college football. Who is it? Does the Bama Auburn final score hurt Alabama in the committee when they rank the teams in this next ranking? And is Florida State a playoff type team without Jordan Travis? Where does the committee place Ohio State following their loss to Michigan? Remember, this is the number 2 team who only lost to the number 3 team. And has the Pac-12 clinched a playoff spot? Those are the questions that I have for you inside the comment box. Okay, take this 334. Let's do it right now. I appreciate you calling in. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling in from?
It's Coach from Kalir.
Hey, what's up, Coach? I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me on this fine Sunday, man. You have to tell me about your 4th and 31 experience. Where were you? What were you doing? What TV were you watching? Were you at the game? What were you thinking, Coach?
We was on our way back from Tennessee to see my wife's family for Thanksgiving. So we watched the first half of the game. I'm like, okay, Bama will find a way to take it over in the second half. Yeah. So we should be good. So as I'm riding, I was getting texts from my cousin. He kept saying WTF. I'm like, what do you mean WTF? He said, Bama losing. He said they're losing 14-10, then they're losing 20-12. Like, what the hell is going on? So this is the same Auburn team. I just had told my wife, I said, baby, Auburn gonna play Alabama like a Super Bowl. I said, people need to stop. I ain't been in a show in a while, but I've been listening to what you've been talking about. But you had said the Florida State look like, do not look at Auburn from New Mexico State. Look at Auburn from Auburn. And I kept telling people, I said, man, it's going to be 48-6. And I said, no, it's not. So next score's going to probably be around 34-28, 34-27. Like, you crazy. I'm like, no, this is Auburn. Down in Jordan-Hare is crazy over there. It's like voodoo or some kind of weird cast a spell over there. That's the only stadium I say is like that. The next one close to that is LSU probably. I was like, he texted me again and said, hey, we got the ball back. I said, good. So I'm trying to listen on the radio, but I ain't want to listen to the radio and drive at the same time, going 80 miles an hour trying to get back to Alabama or whatever. So I'm like, okay, we good. So he said, I said, man, we finna lose. I said, why? He said, miss 4th down and 30-something. I'm like, oh, my God. I said, man, Bama finna lose. So I had my mind set up already. So I cut the radio off. I phone on silent. I said, baby, Alabama just lost. It's 4th and 30-something. Not no chance of getting it. Then my dad called me like 5 minutes later. I said, oh, he finna call and talk junk because he an Auburn fan. Then I found something. I'm going to call him back. He said, you seen that touchdown mirror throw? I can't believe it. That's some bull crap. What you mean? The game was over. It was like 30-something seconds left. It was 4th and 30-something. So he threw a touchdown pass. I said, oh, my God. I said, I couldn't believe they did it.
You know what? I wonder.
4th and 30-something.
I wonder how many people honestly turned off the TV or just got so pissed off after that missed snap and just left. Seriously, I bet you there was a large percentage of people that just kind of like cast it in and just left. Because at that point in time, exactly. There was so much anxiety and so much frustration. I bet a lot of people were like, I mean, look, I'm going to tell you, like, I believed in this team for a long time. All this, I was stressing out. I was like, really? I was like, I cannot believe it came down to a 4th and 31, right? Coach, when we look to Alabama versus Georgia, what are some early things that you're looking at? Some themes, some keys to this game. Brock Bowers, absolute monster, didn't play much against Georgia Tech. Obviously, they're resting him for this SEC title game because they know what's at stake as well. But when you look to Alabama versus Georgia, what stands out? And then also add to the fact that Auburn was able to run the football down Alabama's throat, almost 250 yards. So kind of hit on those points if you could.
I'm going to go ahead on that last one for you. I can guarantee you right now, Georgia won't have no more than 120 yards rushing with Alabama. So this weekend practice is saving the kind of mindset like me. We're going to go over the run game fits all week long. And again, Georgia ain't going to run the ball like the way Auburn did, but they're going to try to because they saw it work against Bama. So they're going to be okay, let's put these couple plays in to the game Bama kind of problems. But I all got to figure out Georgia won't beat Alabama running football. They're going to beat them throwing it. And my second hit is, as a defensive coordinator, that's what I'm thinking. Brock Bowers not going to beat me. I'm going to go cover one all night like a robber. I'm going to kill Robert there. I might pick Terry on him or either Malachi Moore. But they still scoop and they can run too. So one of them guys going to be in their space. They're going to have the robber kind of play on top of them. So they're going to beat me. Brock Bowers not going to beat me. Let's get a kid named McConkey and whatever his name is.
Yeah, that McConkey.
Teams on double moves and screen routes. You got to take away the screen game from Georgia. They run the best screens in the world. I remember in the championship game, they ran a still like on the 30-yard line. They did a screen with Crockett. He ran through the gaps and ran for a touchdown. They always do that against everybody they play against. They screens and like reverses. They block those plays really, really well. So Bama got to stay at home. I'm telling folks right now, if I was Bama, I'm going to bring pressure on him. If nobody hasn't tried, did it all yourself, Auburn. And Auburn, it worked with Auburn. Bama got the defenders in the back end where they can man up McConkey if you're on the outside and the other black kid on the outside. And you got to go cover one. It's time to see if Kool-Aid is what he made of. Everybody says he's a first-round pick. They said Terry Horner's a first-round pick. Pit those kids on an island and let those kids play. You got to bring pressure on the quarterback. Now, Robber tied in. You got to rob him. You cannot let him run free on us. You cannot put a linebacker on him. I do not want to see Trez Marshall or number 32 sticking him the whole night. Either Malachi Moore or Terry Horner. Those are only guys I think should stick Brock Bowers this week.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, we talked about that earlier with Coach Sean as well. I mean, you look at the star situation matching up with Brock Bowers and the safety over the top, whether that's Jalen Key or Caleb Downs. I mean, because Brock Bowers, it's not like you can absolutely stop him, but containing him is probably, the most reasonable thing that you can do. What else, Coach? When you look to this Alabama team and how you've seen them transform, I mean, is this a playoff type team or, is it all said and done? I mean, let me ask you this. Alabama beats Georgia. They're a playoff team?
Absolutely. They're going to go to the playoffs if they beat Georgia. They're going to jump from number 8 to number 3 because if Texas win as well and if Washington win, they're not going to pit Bama directly in front of Texas because they're going to be upset about that. Mm-hmm. They're going to use that win over Georgia as a kind of split to jump down that far. Mm-hmm. They're going to go from number 8 to number 3. They're not going to go to number 2 because Washington win, they're going number 2. Then Florida State win out. It's going to be a battle between Florida State, Georgia, and a Texas team. Who you think they're going to pick? Georgia, Florida State, or Texas? That's what's going to come down to right there. Yeah. That last playoff spot. Mm-hmm. And they're going to pick Georgia in there. It's going to be Georgia. It's going to be Michigan, Georgia in the first round. It's going to be Alabama and Washington. And Bama beat them. But Bama got to take care of business first. Mm-hmm. You can't let one man beat you. And again, Brock Bowers is good. Terry Arden can play with him because he's bigger, he's physical. Again, we're not going to stop him. My thing, but you cannot let him beat you. Because you see, in the clutch moment of the games, they look for him. Their quarterback looks for him. So we can play a robber on him in the clutch moments of the game. We ain't got to do it every down, but in the clutch moments, we have to robber him. Make sure he don't beat you. He beats you going across the middle in corner routes. And he also occasionally run reverses with him. He's a jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. So if I'm playing corner this week for Alabama, I'm putting pressure on the quarterback. I'm going to do something totally different. Because right now, we run the same exact defense Georgia run. Mm-hmm. So Georgia know how to attack Alabama. So some this week, I'll run some zone. I'll break some tendencies. Mm-hmm. I'll run some cover 3 sometimes. Mm-hmm. Run some cover 2. Because lately we run nothing but man. So everybody know how to beat that man. That Auburn did. Because that time Malachi Moore got stuck out on the island, they did a combo switch. Sometimes you can't do that because teams know you're doing that. And again, everybody, that's Kool-Aid fault. That's not Kool-Aid fault. It's hard to dictate what's going on when the game is that loud. People are screaming and hollering. Malachi thinking this guy's running a flat route, so I'm in a flat. That's just running a real route because the coach knew Bama through the combo, the guy gonna sit. And Malachi didn't look back. I don't blame this Malachi's fault. It's called coaching. Mm-hmm. And I feel like for Georgia, it's gonna be a tough outing. I mean, I'm telling you right now. If we have to go by what we saw last night, Bama's not gonna beat Georgia for what we saw last night. Mm-hmm. They're not gonna beat them. Mm-hmm. Georgia barely make mistakes. Mm-hmm. They protect the quarterback well. And if you let Auburn run over like that, it's going to be very difficult. Like, what a defense was. It's like there was no adjustments last night to like the third and fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. It's like it was no adjustment between like the end of the first all the way to like the end of the third. It was no adjustment made for the run game. Mm-hmm. Bama still kept 2 high safeties back there. Trez Marshall and other kid was killing us. Mm-hmm. I like, take Trez out the game. He's not fitting. He's not being aggressive enough. Like when that guard come down, linebacker supposed to fit. Trez kept trying to go over the top, and the lineman kept coming there picking him because they knew he was going to do that. They see me film on him. I'm like, take him out and pick Campbell in the game. Mm-hmm. It has kept seeming like to me like still kept saying, I'm going to run what I run, and our players going to do it. In a game like that, you cannot do that. In this SEC championship game this week, you cannot do that. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying this is how the SEC championship game going to go. I'm going to tell you how it's going to go. Make it real quick. The game going to come out, both teams going to be fired up. I won't be surprised at halftime to score 14-14. It's going to come down to the second half. Can I still go kick or make a kick? Bama going to win the football game 30-24. They're going to beat Georgia 30-24. And you already know who's going to be the player of the game going to be. It's going to be Jalen Milroe. Because you see last night, when the game get in the clutch now, instead of hiding Jalen Milroe, Bama is showing him. Like, you go out there and win the game. My thing, let him loose in the first half. I feel like in the game against Auburn, they told him to sit in the pocket. I'm like, no. The last few weeks, you've been making 2 reads and you running. And like, there was an 8-man out there. We call it stack. They had 8 guys back there. They are covering everything. It's like he's sitting there, pat the ball. I'm like, no, run, please, run. I can take your 15 yards, run. It's like they told him to sit in the pocket, like they was preparing for Georgia, and they didn't want to get him hurt. So I'm figuring out Bama going to win the game 30-24.
Coach, talk about the play of Jalen Milroe last night. He has, and the reason I bring this up is because if Jalen Milroe wants to take over a game and they let him take over a game, and I think he's going to have to be able to do that in order for Alabama to win any single game that they're matched up with down the stretch, especially in these next pivotal games. Last night, 16 to 24, 259 yards with 2 touchdowns, and then rushing wise, he had 18 rushes for 107 yards. Talk about the play and kind of his ability to just take over a game.
I mean, for me, my wife said I've been the biggest advocate of Jalen Milroe all season. Mm-hmm. I feel like the more time you give him, the better he's going to get. And I feel like Milroe's the reason why they won that game last night. Yeah, he made a few mistakes, but people keep high the defense. Like all the mistakes defense made. Like only person they talk about is Milroe. When the game was coming down the clutch and they was losing, Milroe did this, Milroe did. Like, no, the defense can't stop a soul out there. They got 250 yards rushing against Alabama. Milroe was so calm in that pocket. You never seen his face go crazy. Like when that center snapped the ball behind him, he never start shaking his head like AJ McCarron, trying to go over there and pop the center in the butt. Milroe, I got this. Calm down. I don't know if he kind of slow or something, but nothing never rattled Milroe. And the way Milroe came to live last night, I was like, if he played like this the whole game, Milroe can have about 300 yards passing against Georgia. He's going to rush like a 150. They're going to take a game like this to beat Georgia. He's going to have at least 285 passing, another 100 or so yard rushing. And I thought his evolution of the game of Milroe changed. He reminds me of Cam Newton. He's like, the way everything just surround him for Alabama, he's like a Cam Newton for Alabama right now. He's not Michael Vick. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's more physical. You don't see him trying to duck out a bounce on a tackle, do you? Even though that safety hit him pretty hard, that safety took the back force of the hit. You seen it hit when number one and Milroe hit each other.
Yeah, he was the one down on the ground. In fact, I thought that Milroe, because of the way the trajectory of how he was running, if he would have went to the sideline, then he could have theoretically got that first. I think he was trying to cut up to make another play to continue to upfield. Whatever it is, you're right. I mean, the phicality of him, that's a big dude. What is he, 230? So
like Cam Newton, he's like 230.
Yeah, I guess Cam was at 230. Yeah, so no, it was amazing, man. But yeah, Coach, I appreciate you joining and providing the context. It's good to catch up with you. I'll be live all this week. I don't know what your schedule is, man, but please call again so we can continue to chop up not only the college football playoff rankings, but Alabama versus Georgia and overall this Alabama team, because there's so many different angles that we can go with this team. It's been just one hell of a ride, and it ain't over yet for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate you giving me a chance to talk, and I thank everything you do for Alabama, man.
All right, man. Thanks, Coach. I'll talk to you later, man. See ya.
Yeah.
All right, fam, we've reached the 2-hour mark, so if I didn't get you today, hold it against my head, not my heart. I appreciate you guys being here with me today on Bama Football on YouTube. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. There's tons coming your way. We got the SEC teleconference with Coach Saban and Coach Kirby Smart. Look for that right here on our YouTube channel. I believe Coach Saban will be at the podium on Monday, and more content coming your way. Of course, I'll be live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. Definitely call in and let's chop up college football. Let's talk, about this upcoming SEC title game between Alabama and Georgia. Coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for the last minute. This is our 4th and 31 super chat down for $10. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you guys calling. And I will catch up with you guys next time. Have a fantastic Sunday, and I will catch up with you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube. See ya.